In other news, the Prime Minister has arrived in Japan ahead of this week's G7 summit. He's expected to sign a deal with Japan to cooperate on defence and share technology. The Prime Minister has said key points of discussion at the summit will include Ukraine, the Indo-Pacific region and economic growth.
This region is going to be increasingly important to our economic prospects at home. If you look at where global growth is going to come from over the coming decades, the Indo-Pacific region is going to be increasingly important. After this, I'm heading to meet Japanese business leaders who are announcing £18 billion worth of new investment into the UK. That's going to support and create jobs.
Beth's in Tokyo for us. Hi, Beth. Good morning, good afternoon where you are. A deal with Japan, what's that going to look like?
Well, you just saw the Prime Minister there at a naval base. As he was saying, he's then going to a business leaders' lunch. It's all part of a whistle-stop tour of Tokyo before he heads to Hiroshima to talk about this Hiroshima Accord. Now, this is a deal, a strengthening of cooperation and ties between our two nations, between Japan and the UK, and it will cover defence, technology and also security and economy. When it comes to defence, the UK are going to confirm that the UK's carrier strike route, for example, that's some of our fleet of naval ships will do a tour of the Indo-Pacific region again in 2025. When it comes to economic investment and economic agreement, the Prime Minister there talking about £18 billion of inward investment, which he says will create more jobs in the UK. And then, of course, on technology, the UK and Japan want to develop semiconductors. This is because much of the world's production happens in Taiwan. We're over-dependent on a handful of countries. Given the China threat, there's a sense both from Japan and the UK that they need to diversify their supply chains, so another £1 billion deal on that. So these are all things that he's doing ahead of travelling to Hiroshima this evening, where he will sign the accord officially with the Japanese Premier, and then they'll get down to business, talking about what they should do in their approach to China, Ukraine and, of course, economic growth.
Beth, just before I let you go, I know that the Prime Minister has also been talking about migration. If I'm not mistaken, the manifesto promise was 250,000. What's he saying about that now?
Yeah, very interesting. On the plane over, the Prime Minister's obviously been focusing a lot on illegal migration, going to the Council of Europe, trying to get more cooperation from European partners to help him fulfil that pledge about trying to stop small boat crossings in order to drive down illegal migration. On the matter of legal migration, refusing to recommit to manifesto promises made back in 2019. Let's have a little listen to what he had to say about that this morning.
Well, our manifesto did commit us to reducing levels of net migration. I remain committed to that goal. I want to bring down the levels of legal migration. And alongside that, I'm also, as everybody knows, hugely focused on stopping the boats, because illegal migration is a topic that is concerning, I think, almost everyone in our country. And I'm working night and day to stop the boats.
So, in the 2019 manifesto, the Conservative Party promised to bring overall numbers of net migration down. Now, in 2019, net migration stood at 226,000. It's now running at 500,000. So you can see why, in pragmatic terms, the Prime Minister is simply not going to recommit to that commitment, because he simply can't deliver it. As one of his allies said to me the other day, he will only promise what he can deliver, and he will not make promises on things he can't deliver. And look, next week, net migration is set to rise to 650, up to 1 million. So it is a burgeoning problem for the government, and it is driving cabinet splits back home. The Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, is publicly saying we need to bring net migration down before the next general election. Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor, it seems the Prime Minister too, a slightly different approach, because they need migration in order to help drive economic growth and deal with labour shortages. So a problem at home that's following him over here.